Hello guys, this is Heather here. So this might be like a little bit of a different kind of video than what I normally do. I was contemplating recording myself saying it on camera, like with my face, but then I decided against that because then I would focus too much on the way I looked and like I'd have to get ready and do lighting and all that, and I figured that wasn't really important for this discussion that we're about to have. So I figured that maybe I would, just saying it to the microphone would be fine. So this would be a little bit more like, I guess, a podcast than like a regular video by me, which might be fine with you guys because I know sometimes people like listening to podcasts as they exercise or whatever. Not that this is much of an exercise worthy, I guess, podcast to do because it's dealing with a lot of like really heavy material, and also like just trigger warning out to you guys. We're talking about a lot of heavy stuff in this video, and I actually, or not video, but audio or podcast or whatever. Actually, I don't know how long this video is going to be, and I don't know if I'm going to edit it or whatever, so we'll just see how it goes. It might be a lot longer than I thought. But I decided to make this video because I've been seeing a lot of like how to deal with your family during the Christmas break videos. And I personally find those very, very, very helpful. I like to watch them. I like to hear people's, like, what they kind of go through. It makes me feel less alone about what I went through personally. And I know I'm not sure how big of a fan people are of these kinds of things because I think a lot of people don't like it when people say personal things that personally happen to them, and I think that's completely understandable. Because once you're out there, like once your shit's out there, then people can start attacking you or whatever. But that's not really the intention of this. It's mostly just to tell my story and to, like, I guess put it out there in case it does help somebody else who went through something similar to me and make them feel a little less alone. And like the craziness that maybe they dealt with as a kid. So I'm going to be talking about like my family, dealing with them during Christmas, dealing with them in general, and then dealing with like sexual assault and being a victim of sexual assault. So I don't know. I'm not sure where to really get started. I guess I could start with like I am a victim of sexual assault. I do make this public knowledge to everybody. I think it's important to make it public. Well, for me personally, I like making it public knowledge because it's like it gives a message to other people that even though you're a victim of sexual assault, that doesn't necessarily have to cripple you or make you feel like you can't do anything with your life. You can still go out there, you can still get things done. So I still do my video games, I still go on Twitter, I still make friends, I still go outside, and I'm a victim. I like talking about it publicly for that reason too. It just helps educate people. It helps educate men who don't quite understand rape culture, and it helps other people who are victim of sexual assault feel less alone about it. So I talk about this often on Twitter. But I was sexually assaulted when I was about 3 years old. I was a child, almost like a baby. It's the first memory I've ever had, actually. And when I say sexual assault, a lot of people assume that means rape. I wasn't raped as a child, or I don't think I have. That's a very difficult answer for me to give you because there are large gaps of my childhood that I don't remember. And this is because of prolonged trauma. I've dealt with a lot of trauma. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. And so huge gaps of my childhood I can't remember at one time. So doing things like autobiographicals or doing biographical comics or even doing biographicals. I can't say the word, I'm sorry, but I know it sounds stupid. But I can't, like even video games are kind of hard for me to do because I don't remember a lot of what I went through as a child. I don't remember most of it. I don't remember 90% of it. So whether or not I was raped, I don't know. It's just like if I have the memories gone and I don't. My not my current therapist, but my last therapist thinks I have been, which is very scary. But I don't remember that. I don't remember the event. But I was molested when I was 3, which is, not the same as rape. And by my father, who is a very sick, twisted man. What exactly is wrong with my father, nobody seems to really know. Well, I definitely know he's a narcissist because he, like, is the only one who exists in the universe. But outside of that, nobody really knows. My therapist theorizes that he is a sociopath. And then other like theories have been like borderline personality disorder, stuff like that. But his exact diagnosis, like, it's just a complete mystery. He does go to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist has diagnosed him with severe depression, but we believe that because he shares more bizarre symptoms, that he has something else, but we don't know what that thing is. So, whatever it is, my dad is very, very unwell. Um, Insanity, delusions, stuff like that does run in my family. He has a lot of that. He's very much insane, completely insane. Um, because like my grandparents, God bless their soul, them in heaven, but they are all on, like, they're all delusional or insane to some degree. My dad's dad, my grandfather, was all like Danny DeVito from Sunnyvale, Philadelphia, and I know that sounds really funny, but in reality, it actually was quite horrible, and he did a lot of very reckless and unpredictable things, and that got carried over to my dad. He would hit his mom and do all kinds of stuff. Like, he would like take money from my dad and run off to Vegas, different weird stuff like that. My grandmother, on my mom's side, so my mom's mom, was in a cult. She has schizophrenia. That's what we're theorizing, and stuff like that. So that kind of thing is commonplace in my family. My grandfather, mom's dad, was alcoholic. So this sort of thing is quite common. So my dad is very much like, again, we just don't know what he has. I wish I could just say he's like schizophrenic or something, but I really don't know. So I had to be raised in this, and it was terrible. It was horrible. It's very, like, again, very traumatic. Don't remember most of it, and most of what I remember is just that my dad was very, very unpredictable, and like one moment he's fine, next moment he's not, screaming at us, throwing stuff at us, things like in that nature. Verbally, very, very verbally abusive. There's a lot of rape culture in my family, and like, well, of course he molested me, and there's so much rape culture. It was obscene. Like, I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of it constantly. Constantly commenting on women's bodies, constantly sharing his own sexual devious stories that he would do as a kid. It was like really dark stuff that I didn't want to hear, and it made me feel really horrible. It made me feel very trapped. And I remember like spending most of my childhood hiding away from my dad, actually, because he's so scary and so unpredictable. I think the worst thing he's ever done, except for sexual molestation, I could actually not tell anybody on Twitter, or even I couldn't even put it in my own story because Vacant 2, which I'm writing, there's a whole chapter based off my life and what I went through. The main villain is based off my dad. A lot of the stuff that the villain does, obviously, my dad didn't do. Like, the villain's a military guy. My dad was in the military, but he didn't, like, kill anybody. He didn't, like, he wasn't, like, a general or anything like that. Like, the villain in Vacant 2 is, but my dad isn't. So he didn't do, like, some of the, of course, science fiction-y things that the villain did, but all the more the mundane things my dad did do. Like, a lot of the things that the villain said and all that, my dad did all the time. And one of the worst things he's ever done, but this would be horrifying to everybody who's listening, is that my bird, I had a bird, this poor bird, who was heavily neglected, and they never took care of the bird, and the bird suffered until the day she died, unfortunately. And she died when I was visiting home for Christmas, and I didn't find out about the bird dying until I went to the pantry and I saw the dead bird in my trash. They just threw the bird away. They didn't tell anybody. They just threw the bird away, and I didn't have a reaction because I got used to the trauma, so I didn't have a reaction to it. It was just kind of normal for me, even though it was really truly horrifying. But my sister was horrified, and my dad said, "Well, what else are we supposed to do with the body? Like, it's just a cycle life or whatever nonsense," he said. And Michelle said, "When you die, I'm going to throw you in the ocean. Like, I just throw your body in the ocean because it's a system of life." And I think she meant it. And I wouldn't be surprised if she did do that at his funeral, just take his body, throw it in the ocean. that was one of the many disturbing things he did. Like, he wanted to feed all my grandmother's cats to coyotes. He wanted us to go out there, find the cats, and throw the cats to the coyotes. That's the thing he wanted to do. And we were like, why? And he was like, because cycle of life. And I'm like, what? It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I'm trying to remember, like, let's see, because I'll momentarily just, like, you see me forget, I'll forget, like, what I'm saying in the middle of saying it. So, like, I was going to say something else that horrible he did, because he did all kinds of crazy shit when I was a kid. Like, obscene, random, like, he would randomly tell us to brush your teeth. I don't know what his obsession was, but that was very strange. We'd be sleeping, and then he would just come in, wake us up, and say, brush your teeth. And we'd be like, why? We're sleeping. We already brushed our teeth. And he was like, just remember to brush your teeth, and he would close the door. And it was very strange. And then he would, like, or he'll wake us up and go, and say, brush your teeth, and then be like, why are you guys up? And we'd be like, because you woke us up? It's just like, he was very strange in that way. And then he demanded a lot of attention. He still demands a lot of attention. He had to have the most attention of the family all the time. 24/7. You, like, if you were having a conversation and he wasn't included for whatever reason, let's say it just didn't include him, it wasn't a topic he knew anything about, he would physically move so where he was a part of the conversation, and so that he could be included. And it was constantly like that. And he wanted to demand so much attention that Michelle and I didn't really get any attention, neither did Kevin. So we were having neglected children. I didn't really know how to talk to people or to write or anything like that. Like, any essential thing that I can do now, I didn't know then. And had to be taught to me through therapy, like 10 years of therapy. I read old journals I had when I was a kid. Could not understand a single word I was saying. It was complete gibberish. I don't understand any of it because I was so heavily underdeveloped. I was very underdeveloped. And I was, like, hallucinating and all that because it was so severely, it was, like, insane amount of neglect that I was dealing with. And so I came very, very far from when I did therapy. Let's see, when did I start therapy? Was that 10 years ago? Or was that 20? No, I can't be 20 because that made me 8. Nah, that's not true. I think it's 10 years. 10 years of therapy to get to the point to where I am now, where I'm kind of a good writer and I'm on Twitter a lot and I have, like, pretty good relationships with people. Back then, I didn't know how to talk to people. People think I'm charismatic. Now I had to learn how to be charismatic. I had to work every day to get to where I am now. Like, literally every single day, it took a lot of work, and it still takes a lot of work. It takes so much work. Like, people give themselves a hard time when they deal with abuse and they're not quite, quote, quote, normal. But it takes an immense amount of work. Every single day I was making lists. Every single day I would exercise. Every single day. I mean, is one of the big therapy things you're supposed to do is make a list of, like, for everything. So, like, let's say now I think someone hates me. I'm going through this currently. I think someone hates me. There's no proof of this. There's no logic. It's complete delusion. But I think this person hates me. My brain has decided this without my knowledge. Thanks, brain. And I have to make a list of all the reasons why they hate me and all the reasons why they like me. And then look at the list. And I have to do it every single day. It's really, really frustrating to get myself out of it. It's like the stupidest thing. And it sounds insane, but I had something I have to do every single day to undo a lot of the stuff that was done to me as a child. And a lot of this stuff, again, runs in the family. So if I seem real kooky, it runs in the family. And I can't avoid it. It doesn't go away. I can't erase it. I just have to live with it and deal with it. And it's terrible. Like, I dissociate a lot at school, and I can dissociate to the point to where I feel like I'm going to faint. And I feel so bad for all my teachers. If you're listening to this, I thank you. I have to email them and tell them, hey, I may dissociate in your class. If I get up and leave to the bathroom, that means I'm dissociating. Don't feel bad. It's nothing personal. Your lecture is boring or something. I'm just going to feel like I'm literally going to pass out. And it's a normal thing I deal with every single day. And literally every day, I have to deal with this. There's not a day I don't deal with it. And if I don't deal with it a day, if I don't take care of it for a day, I get on a rabbit hole and then I'm dissociating for like 6 months straight. It's fucking awful. But it's my life, and I have to get used to it, and I have to live with it. So yeah, if you have post-traumatic stress disorder, you're not weird. I had to deal with it too. It's unbelievably hard. It's just very hard, and it's it's rough because there's a lot of things that I feel like people take for granted. Like, because I was sexually assaulted when I was a child and then manipulated to think that no one would love me unless I had sex with them, because that's what my dad literally said every single day before I went to bed. He said that no one would ever love me unless I had sex with them. And because I was asexual, I knew I was asexual like at a very young age. And because I was sexually molested, I thought, well, then that means I'm going to die alone because if I don't want to have sex with anybody because I'm scared, or I don't want to have sex with anybody because I'm not sexually attracted to them. I just don't want to. And unfortunately, I just believed for a very long time I would die alone, and I still believe that, unfortunately, because that sort of trauma takes a very long time to remedy. So even with all the work that I have done, I still, that part still isn't quite there, and I have just a very difficult time believing and understanding that somebody would accept me for who I am, because I've been brainwashed since I was a child to believe that no one will ever love me. It's just something I truly believed. And that's only on my dad's side. We haven't even gotten to my mom, who is better of the two, significantly better. Taking a breath, sorry. My mom is significantly better. She does try actively, like me, just like me, she actively tries very hard to be better. And she's improving, but again, she's heavily limited because of her own history, and she's not done therapy until she was much older. So she just neglected us and kind of ditched us when we were younger and would work all day so she wouldn't have to take care of us. And she did admit to this, so I'm not making that up. She just wouldn't come home until 9 or 10 o'clock at night because she didn't want to deal with us and the family. And so we were being taken care of by babysitters. And I had a babysitter when I was like 17 because my parents thought I would get murdered. My dad's also very paranoid, so he always thought we were going to get murdered. Like, they put cameras in our house so that they would see who would knock on the front door. And then they would close all the blinds, which that's a big thing that's a vacant too. Like, if you go and you see Hayes' apartment, like, and stuff, like, just blinds that are always closed because my dad believed that people were looking through your fucking windows for some reason. So I always use it as a motif, like closed blinds in my store as a motif. So like a bunch of characters would just have closed blinds because that's like a thing my dad believed. And no matter what, our blinds were always closed, and he never had them open because if someone did, someone's spying on them. And so you would walk in and it would just be dark. Like, our house would be dark because he would never let sun in. So one of my babysitters would always like just open all the blinds. There's actually light in the fucking house. It's not depressing as hell. And then he would come home and be like, ooh, and then he'd close every single one of the blinds because people were watching him. It's like just the way my dad was. So yeah, that's just how it was. My mom was eclectic. My dad was whatever the hell he is. And I did end up telling my mom about that and told her about how he molested me. She not only didn't believe me, but she's still with him and believes. And I don't know, well, Michelle would argue that she doesn't think he's going to change, that she's accepted it. But it feels like from the way that she talks about him that she thinks he's going to change or something. And I'm like, he's not. So, but she seems to think this, and she's still with him, and they still talk about him and stuff. But I'm like, are you just not gonna accept it? And like, the most recent thing that happened was we were at dinner, and I have to hang out with my mom because Michelle wants to stay in contact with mom, and I live with my sister, so God bless her. So I can't just like not see them. But next time I just get a hotel, actually I might just not be at the house. But they were talking about sexual abuse, and my brother thinks that rape victims lie about their rape because his only friend is dead. So my Kevin is exactly like that, and well, not exactly, but he's very close to being like that. And he just believes that rape victims lie about their rape, and he'll say this to me, and he said this something like that at the dinner. And I was like, let's change the subject. And I was like, oh my God, I was so mad. And I was dissociating, so I got up to go to the bathroom. But dissociating will make you have vertigo. And so I tripped and fell on the way to the bathroom and landed on my face. And It was really, really, really embarrassing. And I was like, oh, I'm so done. And I was really mad. And then I went home and I went to my room because that's what you have to do when you're dissociating. My mom was wondering what was going on, so I almost blew up on her because I was so angry. And I was like, look, like I told you guys several times not to talk about sexual assault in front of me, but you guys do it anyway, and I'm tired of it. Just stop doing it. Like, I don't want to hear about how I'm lying about what happened to me. Like, I'm tired of this shit. And like, you can't just so, like, Kevin just doesn't have empathy, so he doesn't sit there and go, they've dealt with so much pain, I shouldn't say that. He just says it. And so it's like, and trying to tell him, it's like impossible. Like, I've sat down with them several times to talk about it, and they still don't understand. And it's hard because rape culture is incredibly I've already talked about this so many times on Twitter, but rape culture is very, very, very complicated. It's ugly and it's messy, and it is everywhere. It's everywhere, and no one talks about it. So it's just like a secret thing that everybody knows about and everybody has encountered in some way, but nobody wants to talk about it out loud. And rape culture is that would be a whole different like podcast or video solely on that, on how rape culture works, how like the cycles and patterns of rape works. And I know a lot about it because I have been learning it through therapy and I've been studying it. And it's just really complex. So the thing is that like with a lot of rape victims, it's like once you're raped, there's a chance that you yourself will become a rapist, because like all rapists have probably been raped or molested at some point. That's how it becomes normalized, which is a very scary thought. But it becomes normal. That trauma becomes normal, and you start to do the act yourself. So like a lot of men who say really rapey things may have been molested or raped themselves, but they don't know, or they're a part of this very intense rape culture that just justifies these actions. And it's just a really complex and messed up warped reality that's very difficult to explain to people, and it's difficult to teach people and educate people on. So no one talks about it, but it's common. It's very common. You could probably just, if you're a guy, just get your girlfriends, all your friends that are girls, and go to have them, if they're comfortable with it, but ask them, hey, have you been sexually harassed or whatever? They'll probably say yes and explain the story and tell you why they haven't been able to say anything about it, because it's everywhere. There's a lot of men that are victims too, but they don't say anything because they feel ashamed. And it's just very difficult to unwind the cycle and to kind of stop patterns like that. It's very difficult to do. Family patterns and abusive patterns are really hard because it's just like, once you have an abusive person in the family, they have children, like let's say they have 4 children, then that pattern of abuse gets passed to them, and then it gets passed to the next grandchildren, then it gets passed to the great-grandchildren. And then there's so many children, it's hard to stop all those patterns because you can't get everybody to go to therapy. And even if they go to therapy, there's a chance they'll still do it. Like my Kevin, so he goes to therapy, but he still does a lot of the stuff. He still does it. And if he listens to this and gets mad, well, then Kevin, you need to understand that you do this stuff too. And I wouldn't be surprised if he hurts someone one day, because he truly believes that these rape victims are lying, and he just doesn't understand the difference between rape and like sex. And you need to know the difference, or you're gonna rape somebody, because you're not gonna know. Or you're gonna really hurt someone because you don't understand boundaries. You don't understand what's the difference between consent and not consent. You don't get the difference between silence and consent. Like, you need to know the difference between all those things, otherwise you're gonna hurt someone. So it's like, you have to know it, and it's very difficult for people to just accept it and learn it. They just, yeah, it's like boundaries are another big thing that abusive people who deal with abuse or are abusive don't get. They just don't understand what boundaries are. Like, it took like 50 therapy sessions for mom to kind of get boundaries, and it's still bad. They just don't know what the boundaries are. It doesn't exist. They don't know what it means. But anyway, so I don't talk to my dad, like trying to get this podcast to close. I don't talk to my dad anymore. I'm not allowed to talk to my dad anymore. I haven't talked to him in 2 or 3 or 4 years. I can't remember how long, but I haven't talked to him in a very long time. He tried to contact me to my phone to mend things. He's trying to work things out with Michelle. And I was like, no, and I blocked him. I have no interest in mending things with my dad. I have no interest in talking to him. I just don't want to. Michelle is willing to, but just so that she can get closure. But I'm not willing to. I'm not going to. And now I'm a little bit more like lenient. I'll talk to mom, but even her, I might limit my time that I spend with her because it's just like dealing with this like every 6 months. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I might have to just get a hotel and only spend like 5 minutes with them, or like only maybe have dinner with them and then go back to the hotel, which is unfortunate. But I just don't like they don't get it. They just don't get it, unfortunately. So that's how I deal with my family, is by quite simply not dealing with my family. So it's like I don't have advice or anything like that. I just don't talk to them, or I try to limit my time with them severely. And I have to go to my room when they become overwhelming. Even though like it's better now, but it used to be to where like they would need your attention like 24/7. And like if you walked away, like let's say you went to go play video games or something, they would get really upset because you're not giving them all the attention, even though you've been spending time with them since 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, and we had to be like, look, we need to go to our room, just have a break. And they were really offended by this, like mom was. And it's better now, but and I could kind of get away. But even then, like mom will just come into my room, and I'm like, I need like space away. She doesn't get that. She's just like, I'm gonna spend all my time with you. Like, and I'm like, no, I need time away because I need to decompress. Like if I'm triggered, I need to step away, and then I need to have like spend time to decompress. Otherwise, it kind of builds, and then I get triggered really bad, and then I go through a spiral for like 6 months, and it's so much maintenance, it's so much effort to keep everything like stable that like I can't deal with someone who wants constant attention and doesn't get it when I'm like, please leave. I need to listen to music. So it's just really stressful, and it takes a lot out of me, and it takes energy away from me from homework. Sometimes I'll have downtimes of like sick, like a few months. Like I can't get homework done, and so it's like I have to spend that. I really have to spend my time wisely to make sure I don't get triggered, because it could really screw up my homework or assignments and stuff. It's a lot better than what it used to be, but yeah. Anyway, this is, I guess, my story of what I kind of dealt with. I didn't really talk about the sexual assault too much, or how I specifically deal with that, because I didn't really want to get too nitty gritty, because it is hard for me to talk about, because it does like trigger me, and I get traumatized. So it makes it hard. So like I don't have like the ways that I get out of dissociations is very specific. I listen to music, and yeah, I listen to music. I think that's what I do. And then I watch like YouTube videos, but I have to do one of the two. So I have to be in my room by myself, listening to music that I heard recently, because that's how I bring. Because like what happens with dissociations, that you go back in time to the event, and it's just like it's so annoying. Like you go back slowly back in time, so you'll suddenly start acting like you're 16, and you start acting like you're 7, and then you'll act like you're 3. But by the time you get to 3, if I get to 3 years old, like the traumatic trauma, then I'm in the hospital. So I typically get to about 16, and then I catch myself, and then I go, well, listen to music. So like I'll randomly become very dramatic on Twitter. It's because I'm probably 16-year-old Heather, because 16-year-old Heather was dramatic because I was 16. So I'll be real dramatic. That's me being 16. So I'll just act like that age. Like you go back in time, and so you have to do something on the current time to bring yourself back. So if I listen to a specific song I just downloaded, it brings me back. Or a YouTube video that I've discovered, like a person I discovered recently, let's say LGR or Simply Not Logical. I discovered her like this year, so I go back to 2017. And you have to be real, you gotta be on it. Like the moment that you feel yourself going back, you have to immediately do it. You can't like wait and just be like, well, it's not a big deal. I'll just ignore it. Because then before you know it, you're like 10 years old, and then you're paralyzed and you can't talk to people anymore. Oh, that's a thing. It really does happen. Like you're just immobile, or you don't know how you just can't talk to people, which is just like so frustrating. Yeah, Michelle went to the ER once because she couldn't talk to people, and it was just really, it's just a lot. We do this all the time. So I guess I think we're gonna end it here because I think we're hitting the 30-minute mark. But I guess if anybody has any questions or they want any advice, I guess at me on Twitter. I would say leave me a comment, but I don't really read YouTube comments because YouTube isn't the best place to read comments. So if you really want me to answer a question, you could just add me on Twitter or email me. I think my email should be somewhere on my YouTube channel. If not, I'll put it in the description if you want like advice or something. Maybe I'll make a part 2. But I'll leave it here for you guys. Thank you for hearing it out. If you didn't last the full 30, well, you wouldn't be hearing this, but if you didn't last the whole 30 minutes, it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to admit that you're triggered and just walk away. If you did last, then I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you listened. I hope you learned something from it. If you haven't dealt with this before. And I'll see you guys. If I do a part 2, I'll see you later. If not, then, thanks for showing up.